Nigeria's Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, wants Nigerians to adopt the culture of energy conservation in order to save and reduce the amount of power supply that is wasted. Now, the minister gave this advice while addressing the demand-side management of power distribution at a meeting with electrical and electronics engineers in Lagos. According to Mr. Fashola, Nigeria will conserve up to 2,000 megawatts of energy if individuals imbibe the act of electricity management.
We have launched a roadmap to electrify Nigeria, and it is a very simple roadmap of 3 phases that intertwine sometimes, from incremental power, because we don't have enough, to getting steady power, where we will get enough and also have capacity to inject when we need to do maintenance and repairs, to uninterrupted power, which now is defined by you and I. How much of it do we want to waste? Because what is wasted will never be enough. And so, energy efficiency is critical at all stages, even at the stage where we are trying to get incremental power. At this stage where we have only about the capacity to produce about 5,000 megawatts, assuming that there are no gas issues. That 5,000 megawatts can serve more than the people it is currently serving, if we conserve it. And there have been quite a number of initiatives that have been taken at the top governmental level. African heads of states have converged as recently as 2013 to inaugurate and sign on under the aegis of ECOWAS, for example, to an energy efficiency commitment for our sub-region. Now, but that is the political will that is necessary first to identify. Now, to drive that will be something that comes not only from ministerial level, but also from collective agreement and understanding and education. Back here, a few years ago, we launched an energy conservation initiative in Lagos under the aegis of the Lagos State Electricity Board. And I think it is something that must be emulated across board as a culture and as a way of life. But let me animate the importance of conservation by using examples other than energy. Can you imagine if all of us here who have come here by one form of vehicular transportation or the other, whether it is a rented car or our own cars, can you imagine if our cars did not leave the road? What will happen if we haven't gotten off the road and our cars were left on the road? Clearly there would be some gridlock, wouldn't there? Yes? Now, that must show us that even something as rigid as a road is a shared asset. And therefore, we must all use and get off. Getting off the road is conservation, so that others can also have access. Now, imagine in your home, where you pump how many liters or gallons of water you may choose to quantify. And after you finish pumping, you open the tap and run off the water. In no time at all, I am sure the tank will be empty. Will others be able to use water without pumping? Think about that. And so some of the courses I have championed are very simple behavioral courses about how we use water when we do the most simplest of our tasks, when we brush in the morning. Do we leave the water running while we are going like that? Because that is not conservation compliant. Or do we put the water in a glass and lock the tap? Because the water that is running while you are brushing is wasted water. But the impact of wasted water affects electricity because you are going to switch on a pump again and demand more energy to pump and restore water that you needn't use if you had conserved what you have. And so, as it happens in our homes, it also happens at the waterworks. It happens at the water treatment plants. And if you add all of that together, you will begin to see in very real terms the amount of needless energy that we consume. And therefore, the demand pull on energy that we need not make, and the conservation that is possible if we just adapt a little bit. But if water to brush is bad, for those who have showers, we lose more water. After you wet your body and you put soap and you are scrubbing, is the shower running? Because if it is, you are just wasting the water. That water is not washing anything, it's just running down. And the volumes that are dissipated from the shower are a lot more, perhaps, than what is coming out of your tap head. We can conserve close to 1,000 to 2,000 megawatts if we all try. Now, if you look at our optimum capacity today of 5,000 megawatts, saving 1,000 megawatts is 20%. Saving 2,000 megawatts is about 40%, and so on and so forth. So it can be quite impactful if we try. In most public places, hospitals, hotels, especially if you use their conveniences, once you are out of the place, all the bulbs shut down. And it is only when there is movement of human activity that the light comes on. This is done simply by sensors. It's also a challenge to our engineers, to our high-tech people, and our tech geeks, that there is a large economy here of building sensors that are easy to install in our homes and offices, and there is an economy from where a lot of money can be made. So there's also jobs and employment creation even while we conserve.
The Minister of Power Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola. A lot needs to come into play here. We are all guilty. We must begin to look at conserving energy, even though a lot of calls have gone out for let's have the energy first before we begin to conserve it. But the little that we have now, let's conserve it, because it will not do us any good to continue to waste as much energy as we do. You find a lot of shops, especially those you find in front of homes, in most places here in Lagos, leave their lights permanently on. A lot of those distribution companies have complained that this is not right. We had Mr. Sunday Oduton, who is the Executive Director of the Association of Nigeria Electricity Distributors, here on the program some time ago, complaining about that particular issue. So let's conserve as much energy as we can, and in days ahead, this energy conservation conversation will continue. But one of the stories that we're tracking at the moment and was closely watched across the globe was, of course, the UK's decision whether to stay in the EU or exit. Well, of course, this morning the story is that the United Kingdom has decided to exit the European Union, and then Prime Minister David Cameron announced that he will be stepping down by October as the country needs fresh leadership to steady the ship. We also saw the pound weakening to its lowest level in 30 years, but the European lenders plunged this morning as we saw some of the largest banks, including Deutsche Bank AG, Credit Suisse Group AG, and Barclays PLC, among the biggest losers, as the UK's exit from the European Union sparked turmoil across financial markets. But then the Mark Carney, that's the governor of the Bank of England, has sought to calm the markets, saying that the bank will be providing an extra £250 billion. That's about $344 billion in liquidity, assuring the markets that UK banks were well funded as their share prices tanked. Now, a lot of questions have been coming in on Twitter with regards, how does this exit affect Nigeria? Is this the best time for the naira and the pound? Will we see a kind of shock to the pound? But the conversation will continue in the coming days. As I said, we have to watch how the markets play. Analysis will come. But at the moment, we see the naira at the interbank foreign exchange market at 420 naira 64 kobo versus what we have at the parallel market, 475 naira. But as I said, the conversation on how much of this exit will be affecting the British pound to the naira will continue. But we'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.